What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 171, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking about the Nintendo Direct. That's right. Xbox has some news coming out of the Direct and some games to look forward to. We also have our Game Pass update, and were multiple Halo spin-offs turned down. We'll talk about that and more, but before we get to that, got to introduce my co-host, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm doing very well. We finally got the news this week that Bluey is coming to Game Pass.
Blue,
So
yep. That's
yeah,
the
that
that's
was
the big news.
update the thumbnail really. Like
I
that's the
I
headline.
all that's not a bad idea. Forget this Phil Spencer, forget these ports to other platforms.
Yeah,
Bluey.
doesn't matter. This is Bluey's world. We're all living in it. But no, I'm doing great. I have been playing a good many games this week and ready to talk about the final entry in this saga of breaking out of Xbox exclusivity because it's been
Yeah.
quite the ride.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think after this week we can move on. Like it's done for now anyway. But before we get to all that, remember this is Project XTalk. We are live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/save the game media. If you can't catch us live, we post Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review, whether that's Apple, Spotify. It does help us in that algorithm. If you want to support us, get early access to Save the Game Media content, bonus exclusive post shows, head over to patreon.com/save the game media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai and Knight, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotwright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, and the Good Sir. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. So let's jump right into it because you've been playing a lot of games. I've been playing a lot of games. I want to know, what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing an eclectic mix of strange things. I jumped into the dock and I added a few things. Obviously, as always, Halo Infinite. I tweeted out, or I posted on Threads, Mohammed Ray's No Quitter. Like, I'm going to finish the weeklies. So I
Yeah,
jumped on.
4:30. Thank you. I
Yeah.
saw a message from you.
Yeah, I woke up and I grinded the weeklies on Monday before they reset. But prior to that, the reason I had not done the weeklies until then is that I went back and I started playing Atomic Heart on Game Pass. So, did you play Atomic Heart when it first came out?
No. So I've never played BioShock, and apparently this was supposed to be BioShock vibes. And I know my brother Kyle, for anyone that watches, huge BioShock fan. He tried Atomic Heart and hated it, like bounced off after the first hour. So I was never really like, oh, if he doesn't like it, I'm not gonna like it. But
Yeah.
you played it.
I did. So there's a little bit of BioShock DNA in there. Definitely not the BioShock successor that I think a lot of people had wanted it to be. But the way that I described it is that it's like a blend of BioShock and like some open world elements of like a Far Cry thing, but also some Prey mixed in there as well. And then like it blends them all together in a way that makes it feel like a unique experience. But I will say the gameplay got pretty repetitive after probably the first hour or two. You start to see kind of what you're going to be doing. And the upgrade system, there's a big skill tree. The weapons you can build up more and more, but probably about on day 2, maybe around the second boss fight, I cranked the difficulty down to easy and I was like, the narrative is what's standing out here.
Yeah.
So I don't need to waste my time hating myself trying this combat because it's a very challenging game. I was kind of surprised.
Oh.
The boss fights are very intense, and then if you don't have a lot of the right number of bullets, or like if you run out of ammo, it's just game over. So cranking the difficulty down all the way, totally worth it to play through the narrative on easy. I mean, you could probably get through it in maybe 8 to 10 hours, I want to say, if you're even taking a little bit of time with it. But the reason that I played it is because we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that game coming out. And so I imagine that it's probably going to be in the round of Game Pass games that's going to be leaving. And so it was on the roster to play. I wanted to give it a shot. Definitely don't regret it. I enjoyed my time. And if anybody's looking for a new game to just throw out there, Atomic Heart's worth maybe playing through in a couple of sessions. I would recommend it. I think so.
I know that they have DLC either coming like soon or it just came out, something like that, I think, because I keep getting the press emails about like, do you want to play Atomic Heart's new DLC? And I'm like, I don't, but I'm sure someone might.
Yeah, there were DLCs where there was one that was combat focused that was more of the actual game, and then this new one is called Trapped in Limbo, and so Limbo is like
Hmm.
between world. But in short, it's a lot of parkour and like running challenges. People call it like Counter Strike surfing kind of stuff. Uh,
Mm.
Not into it, but it is the reason why I wanted to go back and play Atomic Heart because I remember the game existed. So I mean, they got me that way. Yeah.
Marketing did its job. Well, listen, as long as the story was cool, like I'm one of those people that I'm completely okay throwing it down to easy, just getting through the narrative. Like I've done that for plenty of games. I'm doing that for one of my games right now that we're talking about. But
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
yeah,
I, I'm typically the guy that like I play through stuff as much as I can on normal, and I don't normally go down to easy. But the older I get, the less time I have to play
there it
games.
is. There it is.
Why would I want to grind for 30 hours to beat Atomic Heart when I could just finish it in the weekend and just say that I did it? So I'm right there with you.
That's right. That's right. Well, I see another game here that you're playing, and I gotta know why you are playing No Man's Sky.
I am playing No Man's Sky. So the reason I am playing No Man's Sky is because I made a video on the Omega update. And so it is one of the many updates that have come out for No Man's Sky. And this one adds some Omega missions that are live for a month to let anybody dive in to try it and just kind of onboard them into basically a decade of updates that they might have missed. And I haven't got to the point where I can dive into the Omega missions that kind of show you the way the world has expanded over time. But my experience with the No Man's Sky up until this point was that I played it when it launched. And then I think I dove back in like maybe 2018 and played a little bit of it. But I hadn't really given it a shot beyond like an hour. And so right now I'm about 3 hours in, 2.5, 3 hours into it. I've gotten off the planet. I've gone to the ship out there floating in space. I'm starting to get deeper into the narrative of trying to figure out where these signals are coming from, tracing the steps of the main character and things like that. But let me tell you, man, I get it. Like the thing about No Man's Sky, now that I'm diving into play it 8 years later, is that the vision that Sean Murray had was always there, but now the vision is here, if that
Mm.
makes sense. Like he knew what this game was going to be. It just was not that when it came out. Now it's the game that he had wanted it to be when it launched. And it is very, very cool.
I saw your screenshots and I was like, wow, this looks a pretty game for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely like the epitome of what I'm not looking for in games, where it's like go anywhere, do anything, and I'm like, that's too overwhelming for me. I will end up doing nothing from choice paralysis, and I'll just be like, all right, closing this game now. But yeah, only took them 8 years to really knock it out of the park, huh?
Only took them 8 years. Yeah, I wanted to dive into check out that update, but also Light No Fire is on the way. That's their next game. That's a
Hmm.
slightly procedurally generated world the size of the actual Earth, or a little bit bigger, so an entirely new planet. Um, and I wanted to kind of see what they had done with No Man's Sky. So I'm going to poke around in that for a little while. But I'm in this nice mode where I'm in between games. Elden Ring is getting some
Hmm.
DLC, so I might go back and try Elden Ring next. But checked
Ooh.
Atomic Heart off, checked off a little bit of No Man's Sky. I'm going to play more of that this week. So I'm experimenting. I'm getting out there. I'm seeing what's new. I'm excited.
It's funny because I'm seeing like you and a few other people that aren't in the JRPG space, and they're like, you guys are nailing the backlogs and trying out some new games. And I was like, how do you people have time for all this? Like, we got so many games coming out. Did you see these reviews for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Like, ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I am partially blessed to not care about any of these big games that are coming out right now.
Hmm.
Because like Dead Island 2 stealth dropped on Game Pass. Might play that. Don't need to
Yeah,
worry about playing Persona 3 Reload anymore. I've got Dead Island 2, which is much more my speed. So
Captain
exactly.
Logan.
What's Final Fantasy? That's my kind of response.
Hello, Silkenet. Shout out to Savoy Prime over on Twitch. Says No Man's Sky. I want to give some time to, but I just don't want to invest in that right now. Light No Fire, though, might get me and the crew in.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say, if you want to dive into No Man's Sky, it is on Game Pass. It's been on there for years, I think, at this point. And there is a mode that doesn't involve as many of the systems and things like that. So if you just do want to dive in, explore some worlds, poke around, they make it super easy to do that. So really smooth onboarding, much better than it was 8 years ago. And I'll definitely keep poking around in it. Beautiful game, too, as well. So no complaint.
Yeah.
What have
Yeah.
you been playing? Tell me more about your roster.
Well, I had a pretty nasty sinus infection. Well, still getting over a little, still in the throat a little bit.
Mm,
So if I mute and cough, that's why I'm on some antibiotics. I went to urgent care over the weekend. It's been a fun time in my household, but I've had a lot of sick time, so a lot of game time. And what I have done is I beat Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden.
nice.
Took me 25 hours to do so. And gotta say, man, I loved Banishers.
Very
Every
cool.
minute of it. That game is phenomenal. Not without its technical issues, a few frame rate hiccups here and there, especially as you get later into the game and you start going through, they call it void walking, and it's like you're going to a different dimension. It slows down pretty hard, like in the cutscene at that point, which I was like, is this game gonna crash? But narratively, character wise, lore wise, story wise, like everything about the scream to me, the whole supernatural sending ghosts away. I did go with the resurrection path in Banishers, which you can either choose to bring this isn't spoilers. Like I said, I think I touched on this last week. You can bring your loved one back to life, or you can help them go to heaven. And I chose to help bring them back to life, which did require me killing some of the humans where you do like haunting cases. It's like, why is this ghost hanging around? And it's like, oh, turns out the human they're haunting is a real piece of crap. There's one where it's literally just racist. There's probably two where it's just racism. And I was like, yeah, I'm good
No
banishing you.
problems
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
you're going to hell. Like, let's do it. No, it's not murdering everyone, Logan. A lot of them deserved it. Like, they deserved to be punished. I was on the ghost side. There's probably only one or two where I was like kind of stretching my moral conscience to like, yeah, you deserve this. Where I'm like, do you really, or am I trying to meet that quota? But
Yeah, the people that are picking jury duty in your county right now are like, "Ugh, don't want
yes.
this guy on the I'm gonna rescind that invitation. Don't want that one."
Yeah, but really great. Being deserved or not, still murder, Kevin. I'm judge, jury, and executioner in this game. So
I think Captain Logan's next. I think that's what we're really getting from this.
watch yourself, Logan. But yeah, really great game. I'm afraid it's not selling particularly well. And the reason I think that is the subreddit has less than 1,000 people in it, which is always like a kind of a sign where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if people aren't like going to a forum to talk about the game, might not have that big of a presence, which is a shame because I do think this game's great. Like, if you can't pick it up now, I recommend definitely getting it on a sale.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said last week, this is totally on the list. I will play it before the end of the year, probably before mid-year. But with the way that things are right now, bought the monitors and the computer upgrades and stuff, and I'm tied up with other games right now, like diving back into the backlog.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't convince myself to buy Helldivers 2, I'm not going to go buy Banishers right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
That's just the reality of it. So, and I do agree that I am not seeing a ton of conversation around that game at all. I wish there was more for sure.
Yeah, it's a shame. I hope that the sales really bring people into it because it's one that deserves. And Logan pointed out, imagine people not caring about a new IP. Yeah, that's where I'm afraid we might be at. Where it breaks my heart. Same kind of with Immortals of Avium, where I'm like, I want people to experience new IPs. Like, this is how we get new franchises. Like Assassin's Creed was new once. Everyone, all right. So like, just go out support some games. But you brought up Helldivers 2, which might as well talk about Helldivers 2 next. So I've been playing, I think I got a special edition because mine was Helldivers 2 Server at Capacity Edition,
Ah,
where every day for the last 6 days, I would boot up the game and it would tell me server at capacity. And then I go, that's interesting. Maybe I'll give it a little bit. And then I'd wait 30-ish minutes and it'd still be at capacity. And then I realized they're always going to be at capacity for me. So then I'd close the game and I'd go play something else. Luckily, they put out a patch today,
yes.
which seems to have fixed the issue because I just spent a nice hour and a half playing Helldivers 2. And this is I was on a little Twitter tirade about it because I was very upset because you pay $40, you expect to be able to play the game. And I understand games are not perfect, live service issues happen, but like almost a week of not being able to play the game at all was stemming on ridiculous for me. And my brother made a good analogy. He said, you don't go to a restaurant, pay for the food, and then the chef says, come back in 2 weeks and we'll sort you out. Like,
Right.
that's not how it works. We're consumers. We buy the products, we don't play it. So I was annoyed. I've made some tweets. They're working on it. I know, great for them. I'm glad for all their success. Game's great though. When you finally get into it, that's the end of the story. Like, the amount of praise, and I understand why it's blowing up, because the game is a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
I'm playing on doing some extreme difficulty missions and some hard ones right now. So like, I'm not super far into it. I think I'm level 8, which I just got to. I see people up there like 30s, and I'm like, how are you even playing the game? It was awesome today. Like, one of the first missions we were doing was we had these giant bugs, like the size of towers, coming at us, and we're like, all right, there's a big one over there, call him Daddy Longlegs, and they were wrecking everyone. And then you turn around, another one's coming in, and then we kill one, like, all right, and then another one comes in. It's like, I don't know what to do. We're running out of like equipment, material, like, we gotta get out of here. So like, when it all goes to chaos, that is when this game thrives. Like, it's funny, it's just a lot of fun. Like, shooting feels really good. Like, you would love this game. I know for a fact you would love this game.
Yeah, I know that I would love it too. It's on the list to play. I know my PC can run it super well. And so it will be one that I pick up. Probably like tax return time is when I'll finally go in. Plus, I was going to buy it last weekend and I'll buy it now, but I wanted to wait until the server issues got fixed just because I was already in the middle of a ton of stuff. No need to buy another game when the servers aren't even letting people in. So the fact that they fixed it now with that timeout issue that they've kind of solved, yeah, definitely want to play this one. I know it would be right up my alley. And I love the fact that, and I think I tweeted about this, but Pal World and Helldivers 2, like, who would have thought that those are the games we're talking about at the beginning of
Yeah.
2024 as the standout, like, these are the big wins of the year so far. And I love that because it's not just Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's not just whatever the big game is that's coming out. Like, these games that no one would have picked are the ones that are thriving. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I know Pal World, speaking of them, I think they just announced 25 million players, like
Yeah.
10 on Xbox, 15 on PC or something. Like, that's crazy. Helldivers 2, I don't think is quite there. I'm sure it's sold a million copies. If it hasn't, like, I think it was almost at like maybe it was past at 400,000 concurrent on Steam alone. So
Mhm.
game's doing great. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Like, there's just so many moments where you'll be like shooting and then your guy just says something ridiculous. Like, my guy said, like, I'm gonna give you a nice glass of Liberty. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's so cheesy, but it makes me laugh so much. Still can it in the chat says, that's my only problem with Helldivers. I like it so much that it hurts when I can't play it because of issues. That was me. And I know him, and we talked offline about that where I was like, I want to play the game. I have friends that want to play the game. Like, I have friends that just bought PlayStation 5s, and this was one of the games that gave them like kind of the push to grab the PS5. So
Yeah.
when we couldn't play it, it kind of like brought the mood, like, kind of brought the excitement down, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it speaks to the quality of the experience that they're delivering on whenever, even though these server issues are happening and people are frustrated, like, everybody's like, that sucks. Anyways, can I get in now? Like, there's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
any of this, like, you see people hit back, like, whenever Suicide Squad is having connectivity issues, everybody is just dogging on the game because the base game is controversial and many people don't think it's good. But with Helldivers 2, it's like this universally praised viral sensation. And everybody's like, take your time. Don't worry about it. We'll be here. It's very interesting.
Yeah, there was a whole movement of people like, you not being able to log in is like your sacrifice for democracy. Like, they turned it into a whole meme. It was ridiculous.
It's hilarious.
2 more games. I'm still playing Persona 3 Reload on my lunch break, but I beat the second boss. I still feel largely the same about it. It's whatever. It's my lunch game at this point. I put it to easy. This is the game. I dropped it to easy, and I'm kind of skipping through a lot of the pointless dialogue because, like, they really came a far way with 4 and 5. Man, like, 3 is not as well written in a lot of situations. Like, the biggest instance that makes me mad is there's a social link where I've done like 6 out of the 10, and you join the track team and you make friends with a guy on the track team. But every social link is just him being like, my knee hurts. Oh, my knee still hurts. Like, I went to the doctor. Guess what? My knee is inflamed. I'm like, bro, shut up. Like,
It's
stop
hilarious.
running. Yeah.
It's me. I'm the knee guy. That's my life most days of the week.
The game I do want to talk about before we get into the news, though, Penny's Big Breakaway.
Ah,
So
yes.
this was, we're going to talk about it, but this was shadow dropped onto Xbox, PlayStation, Switch yesterday during the direct, and I really like this game. I'm not going to say I love it. I don't think it's perfect. I'm glad it was a cheaper title coming from the Sonic Mania team. This is $30. I used some store credit that I had on the Xbox store to pick this one up. It's their attempt at a 3D platformer. Has some interesting mechanics. Like the yo-yo mechanic is a very integral part of the way you move in this game. So you can use it to dash, like you'll throw it forward, pull yourself. You can ride on it like a little Segway going down hills, hitting jumps. It's pretty interesting game. It doesn't control as like smoothly and fluid as I would like it to at certain points, especially in the air or when you're riding the yo-yo. There are points where I'm like, this could feel a little better. It's a little slippery at points, but the level design has been a lot of fun. The story is nonsense. Like, it's a 3D platformer. You're not who cares about the story, but overall, like, it's colorful, the music's really good, and I'm having a blast with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw this one during the Nintendo Direct, and I was like, Kevin's going to be all over this because I don't think anybody was expecting it to be a shadow drop like that.
I
But
wasn't.
yeah, I thought it was going to be one of those things that's announced and maybe coming out next month. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying this one. I know we talked about this. I think it was on the post show. We were talking about that one. I don't know if it was on the main show, but yeah, glad you are finding the fun in that one. And you know, when a game like that comes out, it doesn't have to be breaking the mold and really pushing the boundaries in tons of new ways. Like, it's cool for it to be a 3D platformer that is fine. And I think that a ton of people are just enjoying it for what it is, which is good.
Yeah, it's the game where I just like, I want to turn my brain off and just play a video game. And I made a little joke meme where it was the Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore. And it was me dropping Persona 3 Reload for Penny's Big Breakaway. And people were like, what is he doing over there? But
It's hilarious.
yeah, I like it. I like it. Good game. Check it out. $30. Well worth it, I would say so far. I think I'm over halfway through. Like, it doesn't seem like a very long game. I want to say there's like 11, 12 worlds maybe, and I'm on 7. So
Mhm.
it's usually like 2 to 4 levels, and they take like 3, 4 minutes each. So really not that bad.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I feel like that's enough game for $30. I feel like there's enough there to warrant that purchase. It's not a disgusting like, I paid $70 and I got 3 hours kind of thing. So sounds good.
Still can. In that genre, I have my eyes on Roland Rascal. I don't know what that is, but now I'm going to look it up because I'm always
Yes.
looking for 3D platformers. But Sam, that's it for what we've been playing. Why don't we jump into the news for the week? Because story number one, we got to talk about some Xbox ports, but mainly we're going to talk about the Nintendo Direct here on Project XTalk. Excuse me while I cough. All right. So Xbox has wasted no time announcing 2 out of the 4 games coming to other platforms. As expected, Grounded and Pentiment are 2 of the 4 making the jump to Nintendo Switch. Revealed at the Nintendo Direct, Grounded is coming to Switch April 16th, 2024, with full cross-play, cross-save, and Pentiment is available right now. However, that wasn't all from Xbox at the show. Xbox owned studio Rare is also bringing 5 games to Nintendo Switch Online. Available now, you can play the original Killer Instinct, Battletoads in Battle Maniacs, Snake Rattle and Roll, RC Pro Am, and Blast Corps. So we're going to stop there for right now. Sam, talk about those initial reactions at the Nintendo Direct. I personally, not that big of a surprise. When we continue down, I think there is a glaring omission from what we continue to read. But what are you thinking? Grounded, Pentiment, and then some rare games actually coming over.
Yeah, as far as what we actually got, like explicitly had announced here with Pentiment, with Grounded, and these 5 rare games, leaving the rare games to the side for a minute, Grounded and Pentiment make a ton of sense. For Grounded, we'll talk more about the Sea of Thieves conversation in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I am surprised that this is on Switch and others aren't, I guess, before we
Yes.
get into the second news story. Um, But in terms of looking at it at face value, Grounded feels like a great fit for the Switch.
Hmm.
Obviously, a game geared more towards the younger audience, a family audience. I don't know what the capabilities are, but I'm imagining families playing this with kids on Switch, like maybe multiple Switches. I don't know if Joy Cons can be flopped off and used in split screen, whatever that looks like, but it feels like a very family friendly game. And I'm glad to see Nintendo leaning into that and Xbox recognizing that opportunity. With Pentiment, it's a game that needs all the love that it can get. It was always going to be one of those games where it was going to die as an indie game on Xbox. That's how the story was going to go. That's
Hmm.
what it was going to be. It was an experiment from Obsidian. And now it's an indie game that's available everywhere. And I feel like that opens up a lot of opportunities for more people to explore it. And now it's going to be able to break that mold and not just be stranded on a platform that might not necessarily give it as much attention as it might deserve.
Yeah, it's interesting when you bring up Grounded because to me, first of all, that looked a little rough in the reveal trailer. I'm going to be honest. If there was one game where I'm like, maybe this would benefit from the Switch too, I think Grounded will benefit from the Switch too, like that more
Mhm.
powerful hardware. I know it runs on Xbox One, so it should be okay. They might have to scale back the frame rate to 30, but I think Grounded really appeals to what the Switch's audience is, and Pentiment, where the Switch is known for giving some indie some love or indie style games, which Pentiment is. Um, and then I, I, it was interesting because when you're that rare replay, it wasn't rare replay, but the rare replay music, the Killer Instinct music starts playing. I was like, are they just making rare replay for NSO? And like this isn't for sale, but it's another port essentially. And it wasn't all a rare replay. It was a lot of the games in it, but that took me by surprise. Like that was crazy.
Yeah. I like to see games like Killer Instinct get a little bit more of the spotlight. Now, I will say I haven't played any of the other ones, but Killer Instinct, big fan of that. Um, and the more that you can dig into the backlog, the more that you can build that fan base and that affinity for these games. And, it plays into the larger conversation around Grounded on Switch turns into people being fans of Grounded. And whenever Obsidian puts out their next
Hmm.
thing, turns out they're only on Xbox or what, they want to play on Xbox for Game Pass, whatever it looks like, you can build the fan base that way. And so taking that to Rare, whenever the next Battletoads game comes out, whether it's from a third party like we saw last time or something new, or the next Killer Instinct, or even the new edition that came out towards the end of last year. Like whatever that next big game is, the fact that people can find that on Nintendo Switch Online, play those old games, fall in love with them, and say, okay, I want to see what's new. Like this is all feeding back into Xbox in some kind of way, whether it's small or large. So it's good for Xbox. It's good for Switch players because they get more of these games. So it's a win all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of games feeding into others, let's continue. So, as mere hours later in an Xbox Wire post, Xbox confirmed that Grounded and Pentiment will also come to PS4 and PS5. They also confirmed that Hi Fi Rush is coming to PlayStation 5 on March 19th, and Sea of Thieves is coming to PlayStation 5 on April 30th with full cross play support. So, there are the four games that we kind of 99.9% predicted would be the four that were getting off of Xbox going everywhere. The heavily rumored ones, I think the ones that make a lot of sense. The Sea of Thieves post I saw on Twitter that was getting a lot of traction. Like, I thought that was a really good Twitter post, like kind of being like, we're bringing it to PlayStation. We're excited for the new players to come in and see. I think Hi-Fi Rush and you could probably give your thoughts about Hi-Fi Rush is a big omission for me from the Switch. Sea of Thieves, I can kind of understand being that giant open world multiplayer game. Like maybe the Switch just can't handle it. But Hi-Fi Rush seemed almost certain for a Switch port for me. And the only thing I can think of is that they are holding it for the Switch successor.
I do not understand why they did not put Hi-Fi Rush out on the Switch. It could be the successor thing, but not to say the data mines are always accurate, but we saw the t-shirts that came out where they have put in PlayStation and Switch t-shirts or green and blue t-shirts
Yep.
along with the red into the data for Hi-Fi Rush. And so the fact that you're not getting the Switch version, but you're getting the PS5 version, I don't know if that was a last minute decision or Nintendo chose to pull it or what's going on with that, but it feels very strange that Hi-Fi Rush is not coming to Switch. I agree. I would also say it's almost strange that Sea of Thieves isn't included on
Really?
Switch as well, just because of Grounded. I mean, I know that they're different types of games, like it's
Hmm.
not the big open online multiplayer kind of thing, but if the Switch can run Grounded, surely it can run Sea of Thieves graphically in my mind. Like you said, it's going to be scaled back in 30 FPS and all of that. But yeah, that was kind of a shocker to me as well. So I am not disappointed as somebody who owns an Xbox and is on an Xbox podcast. I don't care either way, but it is good to see whether it's PlayStation and Switch or just PlayStation that these games are going to be getting more love across the board. More people are going to play them. And so I have no problems with any of this. And I think it's good for everybody involved.
Yeah, I really it's funny, like, the more we get removed from that podcast we did with, the other Sam, the more I'm like, "We all really did overreact to them," me especially, like, because this when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm excited to see how these games do on Switch. I'm excited for the Sea of Thieves community to come into PlayStation, get surrounded by the experienced Xbox players, and murdered constantly, because I imagine that's how that's gonna go. But Hi-Fi Rush, I know that's probably the big one going to PlayStation. I've seen people buzzed about that. Um, I haven't seen too many, like, out of these four, from what I've seen, I think the least exciting one from the internet's reaction is Grounded being ported, which is a shame because I like Grounded. I think Grounded is a good game. I've actually seen quite a bit of buzz about Pentiment coming over,
Hmm.
which is wild to me because that's not my type of game. But this feeds into the, like, if it can find more, if any of these games can find more of an audience, say a Pentiment spiritual successor. Like Josh Sawyer's like, I'm making another one, guys. And then it's Xbox only for now. Like, will that lead people to like, well, I got to go pick it up on PC or Xbox or something? If Grounded gets sunset and Grounded 2 comes out, but that is like a huge hit, do people go to Xbox like, I got to play Grounded on my PC? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I think that is the strategy that Xbox is going for right now.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I would call that pulling an Octopath Traveler and just,
Oh no, don't.
putting your games out and then moving it to another place. And I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I would be very curious to see what the future of a game like Sea of Thieves looks like. And in the press release for, I think it was these four games that I was reading, they talked as well, or no, maybe it was after the business update. Whenever they were talking about bringing Call of Duty games to Game Pass, whatever update that was, they also mentioned that Activision Blizzard games like Call of Duty, they mentioned Diablo as well. These are all going to remain multi-platform, or they didn't say multi-platform, but these are all going to exist on other platforms as they already do today. And so
Mhm.
I don't know what the exact wording of that was, but I feel like for me that indicated that a game like Diablo, you can expect Diablo 5 to be on other platforms going forward as well. So,
Yeah.
is a game like Grounded coming to Nintendo Switch indicative of Grounded 2 being multi-platform as well, or Pentiment, like you said, if that gets another one, are we going to see that be multi-platform, and et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be really interesting to see how they navigate this, because they're kind of like turning a point with their strategy, and now it's the question of, okay, what's your next move? If you're plotting a
Mhm.
star map and it's your strategy, you've gone to the first point. So now which way are you going here? So yeah, the next few years are going to be very interesting. I think that when they bring a game multi-platform, that it's probably going to stay multi-platform as a franchise. I think that makes a lot of sense. And to kind of put a cap on things, I was thinking about this today. And you're talking about the reaction we all had a couple of weeks ago of, oh God, this is the end of Xbox. They're going third party, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I think about Ghostwire Tokyo more than anybody probably does. Like, that game really resonated with me. I
I
really love
like it. It's a
Ghostwire
good game.
Tokyo. Yeah, I love Ghostwire Tokyo. And so I was thinking about that, and I thought about it in the context of what it would be like for that game to have never come to Xbox. And of course, it's a different situation where after the acquisition, things changed. They brought it over. There were contracts behind closed doors that was going to be a PS5 exclusive for a specific amount of time. But that opened up Ghostwire Tokyo to me in a way that made me a big fan of it. So whenever the next one comes out, if they make another Ghostwire Tokyo game or a successor to it, then I'm going to be in there on day one
Hmm.
regardless of where, like, I want to play that game. And so I think that when you look at Grounded and Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment and Sea of Thieves in that same way, you're just opening it up to an entirely different world of people that it could be their next favorite game. Like on PlayStation, Sea of Thieves is going to be somebody's favorite game, and that's going to apply to a ton of people. And that's awesome because a ton of people have put a ton of work into Sea of Thieves. And so
Hmm.
reward that, give them more players, nurture that fan base, give Captain Logan more listeners on his podcast. Like, bring more people into the fold, and that there's no problem with that. It's great.
Yeah, go check out Keelhauled, the Sea of Thieves podcast for
Yeah.
Captain Logan. I will say, as a OG Nintendo boy, feels a little dirty seeing Rare symbol on a
Mm,
PlayStation console. That's all I'm saying.
dang.
No big deal. But we got some questions regarding these 4 ports before we get to the rest of the Nintendo Direct. So Ghostly March writes in our Discord, just like you can. Join the link down below. Says, do you think it's a bad look that it took going to other platforms for Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment to get physical releases?
Ooh, I don't think that it is a bad look. I think that if anything, the way that I see that, just initial reaction, is that Nintendo might be more of a physical platform than Xbox. And I haven't read the full press release. These are games coming to Switch, right? Like they're physical releases on Switch or PS.
Yes. Limited Run Games is publishing physical releases of Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment for Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Yeah, so I think that if you do one, you have to do them all. And then I do think that when it comes to Switch, that's probably the one where you're going to have more of a physical install base of people that want to have the boxes and the carts. And so with that, I think that makes a lot of sense. And if anything, maybe that even is a reflection of the games were successful enough on Xbox alone to warrant investing in that physical release later on down the line. And they say, okay, these have proven themselves. Now we can actually go all out and spend that money.
Yeah, I think it's more just the fact that when you look at Xbox digital versus physical, almost nobody buys physical Xbox games. It's just the reality. And while PlayStation is vastly digital, they have a good portion of I think it's like 70-30 or something is still physics. So like they have a good alive physical marketplace, and the Switch is probably more than that because I even buy my Switch games physical. All right, so like
Mhm.
it makes sense if they're like, oh, we need physical copies of these games that have never existed before. Like I think Sea of Thieves, like it has a physical Xbox copy. I imagine it'll have a physical PlayStation copy as well. Same with wait, does Grounded have a physical? Does Grounded have a physical?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, Grounded getting shafted. That's what I'm learning. All right. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just catering to those markets. It is through limited run games. So, if you want it, you can order it now and it might be here this time next year. So, we'll wait and see. But
Yeah,
Sam,
limited run will be around whenever you'll get your physical release whenever Xbox stops making physical games.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
when
yeah,
limited run will finally get it.
they take the disc drive out and then they're like, here's your disc. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
and I'll be
thank you.
like, "Thanks," and put it on the shelf.
Sam Heaney writes in with the 4 multi-platform games now confirmed and all of them releasing quite close together in the first half of this year. Could you see any more coming over in the second half of the year? Another batch of 4, perhaps. As a bit of fun, if it was another 4 games, which do you imagine it might be? Ori, State of Decay, Halo, Master Chief Collection, Sunset Overdrive? Question mark.
I mean, I want to just take a step back. The way that I'm approaching these things is that I'm just going to wait to hear word about this stuff or legitimate reports on things that are actually leaking out of the industry. We have a lot of rumors and speculation. And if we learned anything from the past month, I'm not buying any of that from now on because clearly no one
Yeah.
knew what they were talking about in any kind of substantial way. If you throw enough darts at the dartboard, you're going to hit a couple of times. That was what happened a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
So, with that in mind, thinking about what games could potentially get ported over to PlayStation or Switch. I mean, I was listening to XEP whenever I was running right before this podcast, and I thought the conversation about Halo campaign versus Halo multiplayer, like the fact that that's split into 2 independent apps or at
Yeah.
least 2 independent ways to access the game, uh, that's something that's really interesting. And I say apps, they aren't actually apps, but there's the free multiplayer
Yeah.
and then there's the campaign element. And so I don't know how they would split that up, but I think that's a really, really interesting idea now that Halo Infinite is a robust, fully featured multiplayer suite. Could that be a good opportunity to spread that IP on other platforms? And I'm saying that in a way that, like, I'm asking the question myself. I still think Xbox and Halo are too intertwined,
Same, yeah.
yeah, to break that up, but that would be a really easy way to grow that Halo audience if you look at 343 and you're like, "Ah, well, your player count isn't what it could be. Here are millions of other people that would definitely wanna play Halo." And I don't think they would go that far, but I think the easier, lower hanging fruit. I mean, would you want to put Redfall on PlayStation? Is
Oh,
it
they can have it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is it a dual-edged sword of you put Redfall on PlayStation in a way that it's in a better state now, like let's say that it's improved, then you get away from like, oh, Xbox just makes horrible games and horrible games are only on Xbox. Like,
Mm,
okay, well, now it's a bad game that's everywhere. So if you want to play it and check it out for yourself, like, go for it. But at least it's not an Xbox exclusive. And I'm thinking about this from a negative point of view, but
yeah.
legitimately, that could be a good way to look at it. I don't know. So maybe that, I think there are a lot of options out there, but maybe State of Decay 2, like, was thrown out there. So the world is their oyster. I don't know, but I am not betting on anything by far.
Yeah, I'm very much living in the Phil said it's just these four right now. We don't have plans for other ones. Well, it's a learning experiment. So if these pop off and sell really well, then I can see them. Well, let's try it with some other smaller titles, right? Which, excuse my cough again.
You're good.
Um, one that comes to mind for me is Sunset Overdrive. I think it's an easy, like, port it to PlayStation. You get the Insomniac love over there. I think they own the rights to it now. So that opens up, like, should they make a Sunset Overdrive 2? Like, I think that's an easy one. It didn't sell very well. So any money they make on it now is like good. Like they be doing well. They're there. Ori, I think, is an easy one. Get that on PlayStation. It's on Switch already. Just bring the Ori games over.
I
Like,
can't believe Ori isn't on PlayStation. Like, whenever that was brought up, I'm kind of shocked that it's not. I assumed that like, in my mind, it feels like a multiplayer game because it's already on Switch and like it's got the special editions with the little plushies and stuff. Like, that feels like something that should already be out there.
Matt Valdez, they definitely should bring Halo Infinite multiplayer to PlayStation. Let new players suffer through that 30-second time to kill.
You mean thrive in the 30-second time to kill and understand the skill that it takes to navigate that. I think
I'm with you. I'm with you.
it was a typo. I get it. Don't worry about it.
Ghostly March, this but Sunset Overdrive, Rise, Rare Replay, and State of Decay 3 when or 2 when 3 is coming out. Sorry. Sunset Overdrive. I'm okay if Rise goes over. Let everyone else experience the best 900p game out there, you know? Uh
950. What a time that was, huh?
Yo, I love Rise, unabashedly. Like, I think that's great. Another game that I'm thinking, well, Psychonauts needs to go to Switch. That needs to happen.
Mm,
That's
mhm,
one.
mhm.
Like, there's no reason for it not to. And then why don't we get Microsoft Flight Simulator over there? Like, does it hurt?
I don't think it hurts, but also, like, I think the Microsoft is looking at this and Xbox is looking at this from a very unique perspective of, like, what is going to benefit them? Because it costs money to port these things. It costs money to produce physical disc if you want that kind of thing. And so I think things like, the ones that we've said, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, those are newer games that make sense. I
Mhm.
think Psychonauts 2 makes a ton of sense. I think that's a really good example. Or no, excuse me, Psychonauts on Switch makes a ton of sense. Um, but then you look at games like the Rise, the Sunset Overdrive, and I would say maybe even throwing State of Decay in there. Like, those are games that we here having a conversation on an Xbox podcast, like, we know those are good games. We respect those games. They were iconic in the Xbox One generation, but like, the Sunset Overdrive moved the needle in 2024 to the point that it's going to be worthwhile for Xbox to kind of rehash the drama that came with that being one of the only games from that generation. Like, does that make them look like they're depending too much on the past and aren't confident in the present and the future of where they're going? So I think they've got to look at that from, like, the PR perspective of, okay, if we put out these games that are kind of trapped on Xbox, does that hurt the POV in the long run more than it helps the bottom line of what these games have sold.
So my thing, I think, goes to March. It didn't move the needle in 2014. That's kind of where I'm looking at it. Like no one cared about it when it was just Xbox One, but in the last 10 years, people have recognized like, hey, the Xbox One had a few, like we had some good games. Like Sunset Overdrive is one of those good games. Rise is one of those good games. Like we had some good games, just nobody bought the console, nobody bought these games, nobody experienced them. So like taking them, in my view, taking them off, and well, not taking them off, but taking them to other platforms doesn't hurt Xbox because they're long past anyone on the Xbox side caring about these games. Otherwise, we would have got a Rise 2. So like, does it hurt them to bring it to PlayStation and let the crowd over there experience the Insomniac? Does it hurt them to bring Rise over? And I don't even know if they could bring Rise over. I think Crytek might own that, but that's kind of where I'm looking at. Like, it doesn't hurt Xbox to be like, those aren't exclusives anymore because like nobody cared about them anyway.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think it hurts. I just think that it comes down to is the juice worth the
Yeah, I don't know.
squeeze of like, porting over Sunset Overdrive, navigating that legally. But I do think if there's anything from the Xbox One generation that would be worthwhile for them to explore now that there is, I mean, new PlayStation leadership coming into play, like that might be more open to collaborations. Um, being able to say, hey, we own this part, you own that part. Let's put these pieces together and make something happen. I think that'd be neat to see. So I don't know. I think they're weighing it on a case by case basis and seeing what comes. We've heard as much from that, and we'll figure out what the future looks like in a couple of months.
Tom Warren just pointed out that apparently when you go to the PlayStation 5 like pages for these games, it doesn't say Xbox Game Studios, it says Microsoft Corporation.
Interesting. Interesting.
Seems a little strange that the PlayStation doesn't want Xbox Game Studio stuff plastered all over there.
Eventually. Well, I'm looking up Minecraft, and so they have it listed as Mojang. So technically also a Microsoft thing.
So Canet says give them Crackdown 3. Absolutely not. We got to hold on to Crackdown for dear life. Crackdown 3 is a great game, and I stand with Luke on that one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't know. Yeah, we have to protect the strong exclusives the most, and Crackdown is the
It
one.
doesn't get Terry Crews. You don't get stronger.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you talk about the cornerstone of a foundation that holds up the rest of the house. And for Xbox, that's Crackdown, 100%. It's Crackdown.
You don't have to like it, but you have to accept it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Rest of the Nintendo Direct, because plenty of other games that were announced are coming to the Xbox platform. Penny's big breakaway, as I mentioned, coming from the Sonic Mania team, was shadow dropped. We got the reveal of Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, which brings the original Battlefront games to modern consoles with 64-player online multiplayer. Another Crab's Treasure, which is also coming to Xbox Game Pass. This is the Crab Souls game, got a release date for April 25th. Contra Operation Galuga comes to Xbox on March 12th. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, a definitive edition of Shin Megami Tensei 5, including a brand new storyline, is also making its way to Xbox on June 21st. And finally, Epic Mickey Rebrushed, a remaster of the original Epic Mickey, is coming to Xbox this year.
How you feeling? Yeah. I mean, what a Nintendo Direct, because I'm sitting here thinking about the conversation we just had about Sunset Overdrive, and I'm like, Sunset Overdrive didn't move the needle. And then we get an Epic Mickey remaster, and I'm like, well, I mean, anything's possible, because I never would have had that on my 2024 bingo card of Epic Mickey Rebrushed coming out. But nonetheless, I feel like this is all exciting. I'm pumped for Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection.
Hell yeah.
I made a video on it today, but that's a game that I put a ton of time into as a kid on PS2 and PSP. And the fact that I can dive into Galactic Conquest on my Xbox Series X, on my flat screen TV, 4K 60 FPS, like get all of that content that I loved back in the day. I'm not even mad that it's not like a remake or a remaster, because I feel like whenever you scope projects too big, like KOTOR remake, then you end up going a little bit too far, and it just never ends well, or as well as it could most of the time. And with this, it's like, hey, we're porting this, adding all the bonus content, getting some new stuff in there. It looks like it
Hmm.
did, but like it runs really well. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, price point debatable. I mean, you're looking at $40 for the Battlefront
Oh,
Classics
I thought you
collection.
were gonna tell me more. I'm okay. A little much, like 30, I think should be the cap, but
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of game here. I mean, you're looking at I think it's 17 maps in the base game, 39 maps in the second game. So like you've got a lot of content there, but they're two old games for $40. However, there's a lot of work that's been done to them, ported, whatnot. So I'm happy it's happening. I'm excited about it. Definitely going to be diving in on day one for sure with those.
yeah, I think Star Wars Battlefront, apart from Penny's Big Break, but the Battlefront collection is the one that like got a pop off for me because Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one, is the best Star Wars game ever made. I will not hear an argument otherwise. That game is amazing, and like we see the chat talking about Return of Conquest mode. Like I need online conquest mode. Like
Yes.
before, it was split screen. You and your homie could like capture the galaxy or fight each other to like prevent each other from capturing the galaxy. Like that mode is amazing. I need online support for that. 64 player multiplayer, awesome. Like that's gonna be some chaos. I don't. Did they mention anything about crossplay? Like, can we play
I
like?
looked on the PlayStation blog and I did not see anything, but there is cross-gen play. So like you can play like PS4 and PS5 players can play with each other.
Yeah,
I have not read into cross-play itself. So correct us in
yeah,
the chat if we're wrong.
I'm looking at Sam Heaney's in the chat over here, spam 591, and he's gonna play on PlayStation, but it'd be cool to like, you know, us on Xbox, him on PlayStation, so I'm
Yeah.
playing together, 64 players. Like that would be a fun time. Another Crab's Treasure, not for me. It's a Souls game, looks silly as hell. That Contra game, think is being made by Way Forward, which is a good developer, but it's not really filling me. Like it doesn't look that great to me. There's a demo, so you can go try that out. Um, Epic Mickey. They said it was a remaster. Honestly, you could tell me that was the Wii original, and I believe you. I don't like it. He's creeping me out. Epic Mickey has never done it for me, even my love of 3D platformers. I think a big one here that people aren't really going to talk about is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. So this is a Switch exclusive, Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's another Atlas game, and it's coming to Xbox in June. Like this is a big get for the Xbox platform, and it's sad because like we saw some other games announced during this direct from Japanese publishers that aren't coming to Xbox. They're skipping the platform. So like I just like seeing that reinforcement of Atlas and Sega and Xbox's relationship with this game, even though it's the Dark Souls of JRPGs, and I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, I will never play this. I am happy for the people that are able to play this. And also, I don't know if we're going back to it, but shout out to Contra. I'm glad to see that get a little bit of spotlight here on the Nintendo Direct. I'm excited to see that one coming as well.
Oh.
And yeah, more Xbox games that aren't the typical standard, expected Xbox releases. More of that is always good.
Ghostly March in the chat. Epic Mickey is a remake. Okay.
From the ground up.
I thought it was a remat. It didn't look like a remake. It still looked janky as hell. So that was my whole. I was like, oh, this is a remaster. If it's a remake, maybe let it cook a little longer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
It
I'll
might
have
be
to
one of those
check some more.
partial remakes, not like we'll
Yeah,
see.
it says play the 2010 classic along with a variety of upgrades in this enhanced remake of the action
Oh,
adventure 3D platformer originally released on the Wii.
okay. Well, maybe Epic Mickey will prove me wrong, and then I'll play it. But that trailer didn't fill me with much confidence. So, a lot of games coming for the rest of the year from Xbox. But again, Star Wars Battlefront Collection is my highlight for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's keep it rolling with the Game Pass update. So, as we do twice a month here, we let you know what games are coming to Xbox Game Pass. So available right now, you got Return to Grace and Tales of Arise for cloud console PC. You also have Bluey, the video game for cloud console PC. You apparently have Dead Island 2, even though it wasn't announced in this blog post. They just put it on there anyway. A little gift for you. I believe that is only on Xbox Series X and S right now. I don't believe it's available on PC, which we have a question about from Taylor, who says Dead Island 2 Shadow dropped onto console Game Pass, but not PC. I wonder if it's because of the game's epic exclusivity deal on PC. What benefit to Xbox does a policy like not bringing a game to Game Pass PC provide? Less money to pay the dev? Question mark. I think a game should be on Game Pass PC in addition to console every time moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that would be best practice, right? But I would imagine that there's some issue with the Epic PC exclusivity tied up in there. I want to say I saw a headline of like Dead Island 2 coming to Steam at some point in the next
Yeah,
couple of
a few
months.
weeks ago. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it's coming I think April is when that's coming out, if I remember correctly. But the way that I see it, I think that you've got games that are only available on the PC version of the Xbox app right now. You've got games that are only available on console. If you're an Ultimate member, you get access to all of these across the board. So it really is a question of whether or not you own the console. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it is. But I would rather have Dead Island 2 only on console than not at all on Game Pass. So I'm glad to see that coming. But that was a big surprise as well. There was another one on there that I forgot what it was, but I definitely saw something
Yeah, I
that piqued
haven't.
the interest.
I didn't read the rest of them. I stopped midway through, so maybe I'll keep going. So, Man Eater for Cloud Console PC on February 27th, and Madden NFL 24 for Cloud February 28th. Indivisible for Cloud Console PC February 29th. Space Engineers for Cloud Console PC March 5th. Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun for Cloud Console PC. So, before we get into what should those piques our interest, just to address the Dead Island 2 thing, I have no doubt it's because of the Epic exclusivity deal. I know the original Dead Island is free right now on Steam as like a celebration that the second one's coming. I would say wait a few weeks for it to hit Steam, and then I imagine it also gets PC Game Pass at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting to see if that is how it goes. But yeah, would love to see that. When it comes to the rest of the lineup, the one that I wanted to call out is Bolt Gun, Warhammer
Hell
40K
yeah.
Bolt Gun.
Hell yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So I have this game. I bought it. Actually, my fiance bought it for me as a gift whenever it first came out. And I played through, I think, like half of it, and then something else came out and kind of drug me away.
Mhm.
But when it comes to boomer shooters, Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun does it right. Like, this is a great game. If you like old school Doom, if you like Quake kind of action, Bolt Gun is totally one to check out. It does the genre justice, and I cannot talk about it enough. So glad that more people are going to be able to play that.
Yeah, this one I've had eyeing on the wish list for a while. I know it's only like $20 or something. I've seen it on sale for a
Mhm.
few dollars off there, or something like that. I'm excited to jump into this one. I've heard a friend of the show over there, Sean Capri on the Xbox Drive, and Donnie Reese over at PSVG talk about this one. I do like a good boomer shooter where I just like I'll put out a podcast, turn my brain off, just blast some enemies away. And the game isn't that long from what I've seen. I think it's like 6 to 7 hours. So that's an easy lunchtime game for me. Boot up the ROG Ally, just blast through some demons in some Warhammer. Like that's gonna be a good time. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, yeah, totally worth the time. Definitely recommend it for anybody that hasn't checked it out.
All right, Sam. Well, let's go to our final story of the evening. And that is about some reported Halo spin-offs that were rejected. So, with the success of Helldivers 2 over on PC and PlayStation, Xbox fans who are missing out not only are asking for the game to be ported, but have lambasted that Xbox have not provided a Halo spin-off in a similar model. Weighing in on the discussion was former 343 developer and senior designer of Halo Infinite, Kevin Schmidt. Schmidt says that, quote, tons of ideas were pitched for Halo games. We must have pitched 20 to 30 game ideas over the 12 years I was there that would have totally worked in the Halo universe. Many single player and multiplayer ODST themed ones, some galaxy spanning, some more intimate, and one that was really dark. Um, this makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's very you we all know these things happen. Like, we know that there are ideas that are pitched on a regular basis that never see the light of day, and I can't imagine what we don't know. Like, we know so much that leaks out and gets reported on, but there are so many things that we will never know were uttered in a boardroom or that were pitched in a one-on-one with between a worker and their manager. But hearing the idea of a Halo game that's really, really dark, like the
Mhm.
Horror Flood game that we all have always kind of like talked about, or the Helldivers style ODST game that kind of kicked off the conversation. Like, these are great ideas. And up until now, Xbox is focused on making Halo Halo. Like, it is what
Yeah.
you know it's going to be. You know what you're going to get when you play a Halo game. And they've spun off with Halo Wars and like Halo Spartan Assault and stuff like that. And that's fun and that's good. But even like the canceled Mega Bloks game, like stuff like that that takes the Halo IP and does cool stuff with it, we don't have enough of that. And so I'm hoping that what Microsoft sees with Helldivers 2 is a successful game that they can then take and say, okay, we have the IP to make this happen, and not copy verbatim what they've done with it, but like take inspiration from that and see that people want that type of game. Doesn't have to be a full price $70 game.
Hmm.
Doesn't have to be something that's packed with microtransactions in a disgusting way. Doesn't have to be a big single player spanning experience. Like, just make a good Halo game with cool stories and people will love it. People will play it nonstop. It is still a popular IP. There's so many things you can do.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Just ma- get someone to have a good idea, which apparently there were tons of them. Like, I would have loved a Halo game in the style of Helldivers. Playing it right now, I'm like, it would fit in this type of third person shooter. And or it doesn't have to, it could be a first person team based shooter where you're just going doing missions. Like, that would fit in the Halo universe. Like, there are stories you could tell if you wanted to tell a story, but I'm not even looking for that. Like, this could be a strictly gameplay focused experience that just takes place in the Halo universe with the enemies that we know, with the weapons and everything that we love about Halo. Just throw it in there. Let us have some fun. And it kind of feels like they are kind of stuck in their, well, Halo needs to be Halo for like the big Halo games. And it hasn't really worked out for them all too well since Halo 3 following that approach. I know Halo Infinite is in a much better place right now, but these are things that, like, when you hear is very disappointing, especially when I kind of feel like Gears is in a similar category. And I know people aren't, Gears was never as big as Halo, and it's not like as downtrodden as a lot of people make Halo out to be. But like, Gears 5 didn't was is my least favorite. I like Gears 4 a lot. I thought Gears 1 through 3 are masterpieces, obviously. But you know what? Another Gears game that I've loved in recent years? Gears Tactics. I think
Mhm.
Gears Tactics is an absolutely phenomenal Gears game that takes place in the universe, is a prequel. So it's not characters like I know and loved already. Like, they introduced me to people. I really like those characters, but it was a brand new gameplay style for that series that worked so well. And I don't know how well it did. I don't know how popular Gears Tactics is on like Game Pass, but that is my Gears game right now. Like, I like that game way more than Gears 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Gears Tactics is a great example of adapting an existing IP to a new idea and doing it very, very well. And Halo's done that with Halo Wars. Like, it's got a really hardcore audience that loves that kind of game. But I think that even just reading some of the books, like you said, we're stuck in this idea that Halo has to be giant dude in green armor with a grapple hook now that just kind of glides through the world, killing Banished and Covenant, and just, going all in and doing the thing that everybody knows he's going to do. And the main games can still be that, but there is so much more room, especially now with Activision Blizzard having been acquired, with all of these big shooter studios that you've got, and so many other studios that aren't shooter studios that are packed with talent. Not that you should assign people to do something, but if there are smaller teams within teams, kind of like Obsidian making Pentiment,
Yeah.
like if you had a team that said, hey, we five people have a great idea for this super small Halo game, and it would be, I don't know, a ODST style game that, takes place on a crash landed moon, whatever it looks like. Like, if somebody has an idea, let them do it and just see where it goes. Make it something that you fund a little bit of money to, because we all know Microsoft
Hmm.
is swimming in cash. Like, do whatever you need to do and just experiment with stuff. And not everything's going to be a win, but it's much better than being complacent and not having a new Halo game for years and years at a time.
Yeah, Ghostly March. I think they're worried after Halo Wars 2, while great, didn't meet expectations, which is certainly possible. Like, I get the whole risk reward thing that companies have to go through, but I do think there is something in these ideas where, like, you can make a game that's successful without making a $70 AAA $200 million, like, we're going to recoup all this because it's going to be the biggest game in the world type game. We need to focus on these smaller titles. Like, give me an Arbiter game. And I just give me like I want to play as the Arbiter again. It's something I've been asking for ages now. Give him a spin-off little solo title. Doesn't have to be anything. Doesn't have to be open world. You could do linear missions, Halo 2 style for all I care. Make it 6 hours. Charge me $40. Like sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I think that to that comment, like Helldivers did not deserve a sequel. Like
Yeah, $7,000 or 7,000 player peak. Yeah.
yeah, like when it comes to Helldivers, that is not a game that deserved a sequel. And the dev team, like, of course, it's published by PlayStation, but they went all in and they were like, "We're doing this thing. We're making it big. We're going to go all out." And we have an idea. We have a vision. We have a purpose of what we want this to be, and that's what we need. It's not just I want to test this business idea. I want to see if this works for Halo.
Mm-hmm.
It's I know what this can be. Like I know what the Halo players want because I guarantee you devs know what we want. That is something that devs are designed from the ground up to do. Like they know what players are looking for. And unfortunately, like so many times they play it safe. Like, well, they didn't like Halo Wars 2. We need to stick with Halo Infinite multiplayer and make it a multiplayer suite for the rest of its life. And it's like, oh, well, yes, but no. Like, yeah, play it safe and give us what we know we like, but also experiment with things you think we'll like. It's hard because it takes some buy-in and faith, and that's not something that the gaming industry right now is abundant in.
Yeah. Does have a lot of, especially when people are rejecting new IPs left and right, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see something in the Halo universe that isn't just the next mainline Halo, and other franchises too. Let's get it going, Microsoft. But that's all we have for the news this week. We have one last listener question to get to, and then we'll wrap it up. So Terabo writes in, says, data suggests MLB The Show is ranked number 14 in the US, 3 rows behind Starfield and 2 behind Mario from a sales perspective. This is a PlayStation-made game that is on Game Pass, all platforms apart from the PC. This is also a game that comes out yearly, and we can expect it to be in the top 20 again. With the success of this game and the revenue coming in, do you expect Sony to bring more games to Xbox in the same way Xbox is bringing games to PlayStation? Helldivers 2 port, perhaps.
I don't think that we'll see PlayStation doing that type of thing anytime soon, whenever they're just now getting to the point where they're comfortable releasing on PC as well. And if I remember correctly, you might know more than me as well, but with MLB The Show, it wasn't really PlayStation's choice to bring it to Xbox. It was more so
Mhm.
like, we're going to publish our version on PlayStation, and there's going to be an identical version that is published on Xbox by like a third party, technically, but there's still the PlayStation Studios splash screen. Am I getting that right?
So what happened is the MLB came in, excuse me. The MLB came in and said, "Hey, you're going to put this everywhere or we're yanking the license away from you." And they said, "Oh crap. We want more money. Let's put it everywhere." And so
Yes.
MLB is the publisher on Xbox.
So with two different publishers, clearly it wasn't PlayStation's choice. I think that eventually it could happen in the way that we see, like, especially as PlayStation gets more into the live service games. Helldivers 2 is a good example, but thinking about
Mhm.
like Concord or Fair Games in the future, let's say that those games launch, they kind of hit their peak like Sea of Thieves potentially has on Xbox, and they've hit their max player count of what they could potentially grow to. And then PlayStation says, okay, well, we put X amount of dollars into it. Sure, let's make an Xbox port and get more people in. That could happen 5 years from now, maybe. And that's like a very vastly different PlayStation that's under new leadership that wasn't Jim Ryan. And that's in an industry that's continuing to shift away from exclusives and towards just giving players games and raking in the money from whoever's giving it. So I think it could happen. I do think it'll be far, far away and definitely not something that we see them pivot to in the next couple of years by any means.
Yeah, I'm not expecting this anytime soon, apart from like MLB The Show. I really don't think there's a business incentive for Sony to do it because their consoles are still selling, like their exclusives sell. For them, the traditional business model is what has been working. They don't really have a reason to deviate from that. Do I think that as they push more into day and date on PC, which I totally think is happening. Like I think more and more games are going to come, not just live service, but like single player games are going to come to PC for PlayStation day and date. I do think they'll become more and more open to the idea of we'll bring some live service games over to Xbox or maybe Switch at some point. what I was just looking up actually, is Helldivers 2 available on the Windows Store? I was like, because how funny it would be if Xbox is like, we'll give you some Game Pass money if you throw it in PC Game Pass as a little like, it's not, so they can't do that right now. But it is like, I know Phil Spencer has been like, who does it benefit to keep this exclusive? And we all know the answer to that. It benefits PlayStation and their audience. But I mean, that's why exclusives exist. Like, exclusives always exist. I don't see it right now. I would love a future where we see smaller games, live service games like these come to all platforms.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome as a workaround to figure out a way to bridge that gap. And for the
Hmm.
PlayStation games that come to PC, figure out a deal where they come into Game Pass as well.
Well,
Would
Death
never happen.
Stranding was on it. That's what got me thinking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true. I feel like Death Stranding is that wasn't published by PlayStation, was it?
No, not well, so it's weird because PlayStation owns the IP, but on PC and I think other platforms, it's published by 505.
Yeah. So like I think it's a publisher thing. And so I would I would be as bold as to say any game that's published by PlayStation, you're probably not going to see involved in the Xbox
Yeah.
ecosystem. I mean, it's like Voldemort on the website. Like he who must not be named is bringing Pentiment to PlayStation 5. You know, like that's the world we're living in. It's pathetic, yes, but that's what they're choosing to do. So it is
Mhm.
what it is.
I w I know Tom Warren said, like, "Don't expect a splash screen," but, like, are we really not gonna get a splash screen for Xbox Game Studios when you boot up Pentiment?
I think that's strange because I
That
feel
would be
like
strange.
don't we have a Xbox splash screen when you boot up like Minecraft Legends on other platforms? I'm
I
pretty
would have
sure.
imagined so. We have the PlayStation Studio screen when I boot up MLB The Show.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if there wasn't some kind of Xbox splash screen there, but I could be wrong. I don't know, but that is very surprising if that is the case.
Yeah, that'd be strange. But that's all we have for this week's show, Sam. Thanks for hanging out with me again, buddy. You want everyone know where they can find you and your wonderful content? I watched one of your videos. I commented on it.
This guy. Yeah, you can find me at JamPackSam everywhere you can find content, threads on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, all those fun places. Talking about gaming news throughout the week, testing out some new stuff. We're experimenting, seeing what the new year has to bring. But you can always find me here every Thursday talking about stuff on good old Project XTalk. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for the good. I gotta say, I really like the video you did about the. It was kind of the "Did we overreact?" video that you
Yeah,
put
yeah.
out. Yeah, that was a good, very good. I was like, damn, he's got some the editing skills. What's going
Try
on
my
here?
best. Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, well, you can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. That's a 1 to 7, I at 0 and 7A. Follow us at Save Game Media everywhere to stay up to date with all of our latest. Until next week, we'll see you. Goodbye.